Welcome to the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I'm Bobby Grenier, your trusted guide to navigating the world of real estate in Maine. Get ready to debunk mortgage myths, unravel real estate mysteries, and learn tips to avoid costly mistakes. Whether you're an industry pro, an overwhelmed buyer, confused seller, or simply curious about life in Maine, this is the podcast for you. Hey friends, welcome to the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Grenier. If this is the first time you're listening, welcome. I appreciate you checking us out. And if you are a veteran listener, then thank you so much. I appreciate your continued support and the fact that you wait for a new episode to drop every Wednesday. But whether you're a newbie or an OG listener, I am inviting you to reach out. So I would love to hear from you. I'd love your feedback. I'd love your suggestions. You can DM me on Facebook, and my Facebook page is Maine Real Estate Roundtable Podcast, or you can go to mainrealestateroundtable.com, go to the contacts page, and you can reach me there. But either way, I would really love to hear from you. I know that anybody that does this crazy podcast thing is always kind of wondering if we're just sitting by ourselves talking into a microphone, or if there's truly somebody on the other end. So your feedback means the world to me. I'm really excited about today's episode, and we are doing today's episode in honor of Realtor Safety Month. And we are diving into such an incredibly important topic. It's your personal safety. So did you know that in 2022, 40% of real estate professionals reported fearing for their safety while on the job? I'm so happy that today Autumn Clifford is back. Autumn was here for an episode, and that's episode 9. So definitely after you've listened to this episode, go check that episode out as well, because we really get into a lot of different topics in episode 9. But talking about my friend Autumn Clifford, she's amazing. She's a former law enforcement officer. She's a life coach, and she's a safety expert with the company that she founded, and the company is called She's an Asset. Autumn truly has a passion for teaching women's safety and situational awareness, and she has come back to join us on the podcast to share her knowledge, her experience, and she really has some critical insights on staying safe while showing homes, while meeting new clients, and just tips on navigating your day-to-day business as a real estate professional, and the things that you can do. And some of them are just small changes, but they're things that you can do to keep yourself safe. So sit back, grab your coffee, and let's jump into our interview with the awesome Autumn Clifford. Hey, my friend Autumn is back. I'm so happy you agreed to come back on the podcast, sweetheart.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Of course, of course. Well, the big reason you're back is September is Realtor Safety Month. So I could not let this month go back without talking to my favorite safety expert, which is you, of course. But before we get going, can you reintroduce yourself for those that maybe didn't hear our last episode, episode 9, if anyone wants to go check it out?
I was going to say, what episode is that, Bobby? I'm
Episode
excited.
9.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody. My name is Autumn Clifford. I'm really excited to be here in Realtor or Real Estate Agent Professionals Safety Month. I'm very excited about that. We're going to talk about all of that. I am a former full-time law enforcement officer. I was injured in the line of duty several years ago, and I have had to transition and been coaching, and I developed a self-protection company. Prior to that, since I've been 5 years old, I've been in the martial arts, second degree black belt. When I was in the law enforcement full time, I was teaching in the academy, um, defensive tactics. So I was teaching police officers how to fight, which was really cool, because when you look like this and then you roll up to the academy, nobody wants to listen to you. And then, you demonstrate a few things like, hey, I do know one or two things, right? And they start listening to you. And I don't know if I said this last time, Bobby, and the reason I think that this is important is I think that here's what I think. What you're going to get from this podcast episode, in my opinion, I've been doing this for a while. I've been teaching since I've been 12. I've been doing self-defense, self-protection. I've been life coaching. I've developed a life coaching practice. I've been coaching women all across the country and world for the last 9 years. I had to do something. I was couch ridden after I got injured. But here's the biggest thing that I want you to take as the real estate professional that you are. I want you to know that your biggest gift in protecting yourself and your family is your ability to be in tuned with yourself. Your ability to be able to do that gut check, to pay attention to when the hairs are standing up, to pay attention to when something just seems off. That is your best friend. So if you get nothing else, if you stop this podcast episode right now, I don't want you to leave without that. I want you to, for the rest of the day, for the rest of this week, the rest of your life, really, I want that to be top of mind. How am I feeling? What is the situation? How is it making me feel? What's coming up? Like, does it make sense to me? And trust your gut. The most number one thing every woman I speak to always says, Bobby, I I didn't want anybody to think that I was overreacting. What? Yeah. I didn't, my husband thinks I overreact, my coworkers, everybody thinks I overreact, but something was wrong. And here's the thing, I don't care if we're going to overreact when it comes to safety. Let's all overreact a hell of a lot more. I'm good with it. Let's keep doing it because it's going to save lives.
Absolutely. I agree with that because you think about it, safety or otherwise, anytime your gut has told you something and you've gone against it, it has been wrong. It was not the right decision. So, yeah, absolutely. I don't want people to stop listening, but if that's what they take away, then that's vital information. And honestly, that and stop being so damn polite. That's my thing. And you and I talk about it all the time. I don't want to make anyone mad. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. Well, if you have to ruffle feathers to keep yourself safe, do it.
Bobby, you bring up such a good point, and I say this a lot in my classes, which, by the way, thank you to Triwergi and Baldagi, and thank you to you, and shout out to Miss Brittany in the Scarborough office, and Lauren down in your Portsmouth office, because you guys have been bringing me on tour, which has been absolutely wonderful. I teach situational awareness for um, real estate professionals, and we offer a 2-hour class. It's live, it's in person, and we've had really great results. What, as you know, Bobby, what I talk about a lot in there though is the difference between being nice and being kind. And the thing about that is you're so right, especially as women. This doesn't go just as women, by the way, but you have to understand I spend a lot of my time focused on helping women. Um, so I know this inside and out. And women are sort of trained by society to be nice. You be a nice, you be a good girl. Give him a hug, give her a hug, allow them to basically do pretty much anything, overstep all of your boundaries, but you just need to be nice. You need to be a good girl. You need to be nice. Be quiet, go with the flow. Um, you know, children are when we're young, we get told what is that? It's children are to be seen, not heard, right? Like
Hmm.
so it's all these things that we've been taught and we bring them up, teenagers and then young adulthood and adulthood, and we literally are just like, I need to be nice. I need to be nice. And the difference between being nice and being kind is respect and setting boundaries. You can be kind, you don't need to be nice. Kind is being respectful, in my opinion, right? So we can set boundaries and we can be respectful. Thank you so much. Today I'm not in a hugging mood. It's really nice to meet you. Here's a handshake, or here's a fist bump, or here's nothing because that's how I'm feeling. Versus I'm going to go and I'm going to overstep my own boundaries and I'm going to give this person a hug because if I don't, they're going to feel bad about it. And you just bring up such a good point because how many times do we overstep our own boundaries and then we put ourselves in dangerous situations, especially as women?
That's absolutely a great point. And first, I want to say that we love partnering with you and bringing you to meet all of our real estate agent friends because it hits so many marks that we're able to connect with our real estate agents and lenders. Um, and we're able to provide them something that's important, something that's different, something that I feel like we're really just starting to talk about. And you and I talked about this on the last episode that I'm not sure why we're not talking about it because, and you're saying real estate professionals, and it is primarily real estate agents, but I've told you before, as a closer, and I know that all of the closers that I work with, and a closer means you go and meet with people and have their loan documents or their sale documents signed. I've gone to people's homes. I've met with people in their offices, after hours. I've done all of those things and I've tried to, put safety measures in place that I know we're going to talk about. But it really does go across the board. It definitely does. But anyway, we love working with you. Thank you so much for partnering with us and doing all of these classes. And we're talking about doing more and more together. And I'm super excited about that.
Thank you, Bobby. I am too. And I have to say this is what I love in what has been honestly mind blowing for me as coming up to Bangor, we did a class down in Wyndham. We're doing some more Southern Maine and in Portsmouth. But Bobby, the conversations these real estate agents and professionals are having is literally mind blowing. And I mean, I've talked to some women on both ends of the state actually who have been like, yeah, like I almost got locked inside of a basement doing a showing, and, just my gut feeling and all of these things, and it was like, "Really?" And it's like, it's real it is happening. Even for me, I'm like, "Man," because I just good people would never think to harm another person, but the thing is we're not always dealing with good people. Unfortunately, we do have dangerous people out in society, and they are looking to prey on easy targets. And so the idea is we want to set ourselves up for success by being what I call a hard target. And a hard target is, as you can imagine, somebody who is hard to mess with.
I want to switch gears, and I know you like your stats. I want to throw some stats at you that I pulled, and I just want your reaction on this. So, this is from the National Association of Realtors, and this is from a 2023 safety report.
Mm.
So, 38% of real estate agents reported feeling unsafe during an open house or a showing.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? That's completely accurate with what real estate professionals are saying in my classes. There's a lot of them now that are partnering with people, whether they'll like partner with another professional, somebody in you guys' realm, or if they just have a spouse coming, or like a lot of real estate agents are no longer just doing these open houses alone. And I want to just say this, there's before I came on here with you, I needed to say this, and I need you to listen to me if you are a real estate agent. We don't need to keep doing things the way that we've always done them, straight up. And Bobby and I are going to tell you some stories today so that you don't just think it's, two crazy women on this podcast on the other end of your radio. And it's real, okay? This is real. What is happening is real. And that statistic was only what? 38%. This is reported, double that, easy, okay? So we're looking at over 70% of real estate professionals feeling some kind of way, uneasy, unsafe, while there is an open house. We just don't we can change the way that we've been doing things. And I just want to remind you, from entrepreneur to entrepreneur, get innovative, partner with somebody, have somebody there, make your open houses different than what they've always done. Get somebody else in this house with you so that you are not alone.
I want to go on to the next stat, which is actually, I expect this to be a little bit higher, but you made a good point. It's 4% of agents reported being a victim of a crime while working.
Because you have to understand too, right? So even like think about you as the professional listening to this, like none of us want to be victimized, especially in our careers and especially as women. Hello, like we are out there trying to make a name for them ourselves. Like I don't need any headlines. I don't need any drama. You don't either. So of course We are not even, and we're probably not going to perceive different things either, Bobby. Whereas, like, we're going to try to, we just put this lens on, and it's like we're just trying to kind of get through our day. We're trying to get to the, whatever it is that we're doing. And it's the same as like a woman working in a different career, and she's just trying to, like, she puts those like sunglasses, right, the rose colored glasses on. She's like, no, none of that's actually happening to me. I'm focused. So yeah, I totally think that's very low. Hmm.
So I know what you're going to say about this next one, but it needs to be said. You actually brought this up in the class that you did for my group. I don't know, it was like 6 months or so ago, but 31% of agents report carrying some form of self-defense weapon, such as pepper spray. What do you think of pepper spray, Autumn?
Well, here's the thing. I want everybody to carry something. I want you to understand that your body is a weapon. That is part of my class that we talk about. What you're carrying can be used as a weapon or it can be used against you. Very important. Um, if you're doing an open house, I'm just going to say this. Macing somebody in an enclosed room, a small area, even in a house, if you are not prepared to fight through that, I do need you to know that there, depending on the kind of mace, there could be kickback that comes. I'm not saying not to do it. I am saying you need to be prepared. We talk about what mace does, and if you don't mind, Bobby, I'm just going to go over it real quick so that the people can
Absolutely.
hear. So, I've been maced 5 times throughout my career in law enforcement, and several different, training scenarios. And through those training scenarios, I've been forced to fight through at least 3 of them. I had to fight through being maced, and, it's not fun. And let me tell you what happens. First thing that's gonna happen is, if you get sprayed on your skin, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to burn. It's going to burn like crazy, crazy burn, right? The next thing that's going to happen, your eyes are going to water, your nose is going to run. And then, so now here you are, you can't really see, definitely are having a hard time breathing through your nose. And then your throat starts to constrict. That's the part of mace that a lot of people, they just think it burns, but your throat will start to kind of, it just go like this. Like if you can't see me visually, it's not going to like close, but it does start to like constrict a little bit because that's part of what that's designed to do. So now you're like, holy shit, I can't breathe. I can't, and so you have to ask yourself, like, are you prepared to fight through that in a small space? There's a lot of different options. I created like a self-protection keychain. And let me tell you why I created this. It's because I feel like if you're in an enclosed room, if you're in an enclosed house, especially if, these people are your clients, like, do you actually want a mace? I don't know. It depends on the situation. Okay. Every situation is different. But I created a keychain that would take your key fob because we all know we all have key fobs and we don't really have the old fashioned big keys anymore, right? But it's like a wristlet, but it's hard enough that you can hold like a handle and you could really turn that into a weapon and hit somebody. And you don't necessarily have to be super close to them, and you don't have to worry so much about being like incapacitated yourself. So there's a lot of other options. I talk about carrying, hairspray, carrying Lysol, carrying a small air horn. And I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, I did it to myself. I didn't mean to, but like I when I pressed the air horn, it was close to my ear, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? I mean, that's that in itself is going to disorient somebody for seconds. You only have seconds anyways. But I'm not saying not to mace. I just need to say that. I'm just saying you need to be very clear about where you are macing, pepper spraying somebody, because you will incapacitate yourself if you're not careful.
Everything that you just described, the hairspray, the blowhorn, all of that, that just gives you a few seconds to get out of there, to get
Yeah.
away. And that's what your goal is. You're not looking for a fight. You just want to get out of the situation.
Mhm.
Then the last one I want to mention is that 45% of female agents and 35% of male agents, we're talking primarily about women, but this could certainly go for men too, carry they said a self-defense tool while working. So, I mean, that makes me think a gun, a knife, but I mean, we're getting into a little more of a serious situation there. And I know that you don't advise on that type of thing, but I thought that was interesting. I thought those were like high percentages.
Well, I mean, I hope that's what happens. I don't know. We don't know, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, in my classes, I don't hear a lot of women carrying a firearm, in their open houses. I think that in both of my classes combined, maybe 2 people, 2, 3 people carried mace. Um, out of like what, over 20 women. So I mean, it's very low percentages. The beauty is that once you understand that literally you can turn almost anything into a weapon and you turn your situational awareness on everywhere you are, you start really looking around, Bobby, and you're like, okay, if this happens, then what am I going to do? If this, then what? If this person does this, what am I going to do? Do I have to do I have to physically walk into all of these rooms before my clients as I'm showing this house? No, you don't. No, you don't. Why don't you follow them? They don't need to follow you. Come up with a really good sales pitch and just say something like, "Okay, so visualize that this is your house. How would it feel? And I'm going to allow you to go through with and follow you on the flow of, the house. I'll follow you, and if there's anything that you miss, I'll make sure to direct you there." You do not like again, we don't need to do things the way we've always done things. Follow the client. They don't need to be behind you. That's the worst thing that they could do. Just so you guys know, I'm going off on a tangent, but it's really important. The majority of predators are coming from behind you. Just know that. So why would we intentionally put anybody behind you? That it makes zero sense.
Well, I lied to you. I actually do have one more step, but it actually segues nicely into kind of what I want to talk about next. So 27%, and I wish this was a higher number, but 27% of agents use some type of personal safety app so that they can track their location, they can share with other people that they trust. That is just a really simple tool. You can almost don't even have to think about it that you can do. And then the other app I actually sent you some information on, is an app called Forewarn. So I reached out to a few of my real estate agent friends in preparation for talking with you and asked, what is the most popular app that her agents use, and she owns an agency in Bangor, and she said it was called Forewarn. So this is where they can run potential clients that they don't know. And even if it's a referral, what would it hurt to do this up front? But they can get an ID and run potential clients through this app.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I know that when I taught your class, there was a lot of agents that was telling me about it. Down in the southern end, there was definitely a lot that talked about it. So I do feel like Maine's getting a really good grasp on having this. A couple of things I'd like to highlight. One, yes, please use it, especially if it's free to you. And even if it's not, even if it's like a couple of bucks, doesn't matter, it's worth it. The other thing is you should absolutely somebody should always know your location, especially when you're out in the field. And we've been talking about developing plans. Real estate agents, sometimes they have partners. Sometimes, it doesn't matter who are you close with, who knows where you're at, where you can literally give them your schedule. They can track you, all the things. It may seem a little over the top. You may be rolling your eyeballs at me right now. Totally get it. I get it. I can't say if I wasn't me and I didn't know what I know, I can't say I wouldn't be rolling my eyeballs because I'm like, oh my gosh, I live in Maine. This shit doesn't happen. This woman's crazy. But the thing is Maine isn't the Maine that we all knew. Okay, you guys, it's completely changed. And 2023 was probably one of the most violent years in Maine's history, and it's going up right now. Like we are dealing with a lot of different crimes, violent crimes. People are unpredictable, they're on drugs. So we just need to protect ourselves. And the other thing is like if you were your child, right? Imagine this was your child going and showing homes and going out in the field all by themselves. Like, would you be fine if nobody knew where they were and and they're the ones walking somebody through a house and they don't have an app and all these things? Like, just put yourself in that, you know, um, point of view. And the last thing I want to say is I love this forewarn, but please don't just rely on that. Like you need to turn that intuition on at all times because just because somebody doesn't have, a history doesn't mean anything. Just gonna throw that out there.
I agree with that. But in dealing with real estate fraud, I've noticed that almost any pushback makes them go away. Now, if somebody is really determined to do some harm to somebody, and they're more calculated, they may be able, like you said, to sidestep some of those things. So, don't rely on it 100%, but that could be just enough to send that bad actor away.
I love it. Yeah. Because what you're saying is what you mean by that is do you mean because they need to give you their like identification? Yeah. Well, they should be I just want to say this, this should be a prerequisite anyway. Like let's just not be dealing with any strangers, period.
Yeah, well, because so many are just going to throw it against the wall and see if it sticks.
Exactly. And what I mean, like, I know a lot of you, I just want to say this. I know a lot of you are dealing with people, strangers, right? Quote unquote, that you've never met. I just mean like we should be identifying all of the people. It just should be part of your flow.
Absolutely. One thing that really stuck with me that you said to the agents in the class, which I think is so hard for them to hear and even harder for them to do, is if you can't shake a bad feeling, be okay to walk away from the deal. Be okay to walk away from that client. And I think that's really hard because real estate agents grind, they hustle, they work very, very hard. There's a lot of them out there, so there's a lot of competition, but not worth their safety at all.
Not at all.
This is obviously Realtor Safety Month, and that was kind of what prompted us to, or for me to reach out and us to schedule another podcast episode together. But the other thing is something that happened very recently, and that was in August of 2024. And I actually shared it on my Facebook because it's just it's sad. It's just very, very sad and it's tragic. And there isn't a lot of information out there, but I really just wanted to mention it, and it's the case of Anita, and I'm probably going to say the last name wrong, so forgive me if I do, but it's MUI, so Moy. So she is from Ontario, Canada, and she went missing, and her remains were found. And authorities do believe that it was in relation to some type of crime that they got access to her because she was a real estate agent. So again, we don't really have a lot to talk about with this case, but I just really wanted to bring it up because this was last month.
Yeah.
This is happening.
And a lot of actually several of my alumni who are real estate agents sent me this. I think three alumni send me this and they were like, Autumn, what do you think? And I'm like, I feel terrible about it, but this is all the more reason why we need to be having these conversations. We need to be paying attention, tracking one another. And if you're having that feeling, something just seems right, like not right, like this person, tell somebody, and if you're going to be that person who's not going to throw away a deal like I suggested, then you better be bringing somebody with you and, preferably somebody who can have your back if something goes, wrong.
Definitely. Yeah, I actually sent that to you as well, and I'm like, "Help us, Autumn. We need you." It was timely in something that you started, probably close to a year ago in reaching out to professionals and real estate professionals. So you're on track, sister. You're looking
Bobby,
out for us, but we need to look out for ourselves as well.
Bobby, you know what I think? And I would love it if any of your real estate professionals listening to this message Bobby or I and tell me what you think. I think that there's really there's there is a space in here for like a security company to be born for simply just real estate professionals, right? Like, couldn't there be somebody who like goes with the people, like goes with these agents and like I don't know. It's just like I'm gonna be at your open house and I'm gonna be here. And like maybe they don't look like the bouncer. They look like a professional. You would have no idea that they are a like they're actually security. They look like a real estate agent, right? But shit hits the fan and like you better watch out because here they come.
I love it. I love it. Hey, I think you're the perfect girl to get that going. Like you don't have enough going, right?
Right.
Well, we did talk about you and I one other case that kind of sadly went from start to finish, and that was the Beverly Carter case. So Beverly was a real estate agent in Arkansas, and she was a victim of what appeared to be a premeditated plan to kidnap her and then demand a ransom. So why do you think they targeted Beverly?
Well, I really appreciate you bringing this up. This is a bit of an older case. Anybody is more than welcome to go ahead and Google this so you can read the entire thing. I
Yes.
highly recommend that you do, to be honest with you, because the two perpetrators, they talk a lot about why they did what they did and their articulation of it, and it's really on point with our trainings and our discussions, Bobby. Is that they targeted Beverly because she looked like she was successful. So she probably had a really good brand. She probably, was all over social media, all over her local news boards. It doesn't matter. She probably drove a nice vehicle, lived in a nice house, but she looked like she had it going on. So she looked very wealthy, very successful. And I want to say, I do know that as a fellow entrepreneur, like we're all looking to be successful. So, we're all putting our best foot forth. So please understand that that alone makes you kind of stand out to be a bit of an easy target. You are already somebody that bad people might identify as being wealthy because most people want two things. They want money or drugs. That's for the majority of people want that. I'm not saying obviously there's spinoffs, there's anomalies, we have, serial killers, we have people who are really bad people, but the majority of the people that are committing crimes against other people, they really want drugs or they want money. In this case, just so we're clear, was two people, a couple who they wanted money. And so what they did is they targeted this looked like highly successful real estate agent, lured her in, and what they were going to do is hold her ransom, and then things went downhill, and they wanted to get money from her. The next thing, Bobby, if you don't mind me saying, what really stood out to me was that she looked like an easy target. Like, it was things about her. It was a woman, she probably wasn't very big. They wanted to lure her out to a rural area, this very specific house where they knew that she'd be showing this house alone. Red flag central, especially because a lot of you guys do this, and you guys like, "This is just another day in the job." But this is why, and Bobby, thank you so much for bringing this up. And, but this is happening. These people, like, this was so premeditated. This was so done on purpose. We have to be thinking um, out of the box now. And we have to be thinking a little bit more on the defense, right? On like, we don't want this to happen to any more agents.
Well, the other part of this that wouldn't wouldn't necessarily set off a red flag is they did it as a couple.
Hmm.
So if it was some, guy, some dude that gave you the ick and you really, put on all of you had somebody go with you, had your location on, you did all of those things because, it seemed a little bit off. But with a couple, it puts a whole different spin on it. This whole case is, in reading it and in just listening to you talk, it's sad. It is very sad that this woman was just trying to do her job. She was just trying to do her job. She was just trying to work with her clients, find them a home, and they took every single aspect that you just talked about and used it against her to victimize her. So very sad, but I just hope, like you suggested, that our real estate agent friends Google the Beverly Carter case. And like you said, it was a while ago, it was back in 2014. And social media has even ramped up since then. So we're putting ourselves out there even more. So don't think that people aren't watching you.
That's so true. And, and I just have to say what I appreciate, as much as I hate this case, what I do appreciate is they really do talk about why they did every single step that they did. I mean, just so we're clear and everybody, so you understand this, which I do recommend that you go and do some research on this. But the male counterpart abducted her when they were doing this house showing, and he duct taped to bind her, right? Duct tape her wrist, probably also her ankles, if I had to guess, and eventually placed tape over her mouth and nose, which ultimately led to her death or and by suffocation. Um, I think that's really, really important because they were luring her out to where she was alone. Like Bobby, you highlighted, it was a couple. She wasn't and there listen, I'd like to say this, there's no fault to Beverly Carter.
Oh,
Like there's
absolutely not.
no fault. We are just using this to show you and highlight that this is actually happening. And there are really bad, sick people that are always watching. So that just to I just would like to summarize, these two sick individuals were looking for money. Beverly looked like she was successful, so perceived wealth, accessibility. Real estate agents go places all by themselves. You guys are always showing houses all by yourself, empty homes, secluded out in rural areas. And I just think, that's important. Did anybody know where Beverly was? Was there any background checks done? Does this couple even have any priors? Right? It's just all of these things. Um, that we have to be looking at. We have to take the totality of the circumstances with each individual case that you're dealing with, each individual listing, situation, house, sale, all of the things. Anytime you're out, and anytime you're dealing with individuals, please, please, please. I'm going to reiterate what I said at the very beginning of this episode. Please, please, please trust your gut. And if any red flag, and even if it's only like a yellow flag, right? If it's not quite to the red, you're not like, oh my gosh, that was a red flag, but you're kind of feeling like the yellow flag as far as like, oh, something, warning, something's going off in me. Please, please, please listen. It's really important.
And it's taking all of the steps because maybe they don't have priors if you did the forewarn app and nothing came up there,
Mhm.
so you keep your location on, you take somebody with you, you um, trust your gut. So it's just doing everything, and sad that we all have to do that, but it's so important that these real estate agents take all of the tools, including their own instincts, and use them to keep themselves safe.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm sitting here really thinking about it and putting myself in this, situation with even with the training that I have. And I mean, I'm not like one of these like super, super well trained like special forces dudes, right? But I mean, I do have some training. I've been in the martial arts since I've been 5, like I said, police officer, taught police officers how to fight, been teaching, self-defense for a very long time. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Bobby, like I don't think that I would feel comfortable anytime like I would be very hard pressed to be going and doing a lot of things, showings by myself. I just don't I don't know. I know it's the way we've always done things, but I just really think we need to start looking at this differently. And, and if you have to do it by yourself, I don't know, send them in, send them in, stand on near the front door, put your back against a wall. Like, and you don't need to look crazy. You don't need to be like, all right, back against the wall. Like, you don't need to be like that, but just pay attention to the body position. Allow people to go ahead and go check out a house. You don't need to go down to the basement for anything. You don't need to go upstairs. Like, just remain where you can get out quickly, know where your weapons are. Remember, if the kitchen is like if you're actually showing a furnished house, the kitchen is the most dangerous room in the entire house. Why? Because that's where all of our knives, our pots and pans are, our weapons, forks, right? Like, so you need to be thinking about these things as we're doing it. But again, I just need to say, like, even myself, I just don't know how much by myself I would be doing.
I kind of want to jump off of that and also circle back to something you said that in this case that we were just talking about, um, these two people lured the real estate agent out to a rural area. And then you said that this isn't the Maine it used to be. So Maine is so diverse. You can be up in Aroostook County and everything's rural for the most part. So
Mhm.
you think, well, nothing's going to happen there because we're out in the country. Well, there is that risk. Or you're down in southern Maine where it's a
Right.
little more populated, and then there's more people. So obviously, a higher risk of crime there.
Mhm.
So really don't get under the misconception that your location in Maine or just being in Maine itself is guaranteed safety.
No, 100%. Especially, especially in the classes that I've been teaching with these real estate professionals all across the state. I mean, everybody is saying we have so many people coming into Maine from out of state. I mean, it's not the typical Mainers, right? I mean, again, it's different when you know the people, and a lot of you do have repeat customers, and you know the people. And there's going to be I got a lot of OGs that are listening to me right now, going, she's crazy. I've been doing this for 20 years, right? Like, and yes, you have been 100%. You need to do your thing, but I'm just saying, if there is a real estate agent listening to me that this resonates, there is opportunities for us to like look at things differently and for you to get innovative with how you do this so that you are safe.
Well, and I want to bring up another point with that is with fraud, which is more what I see.
Mhm.
It's always the initial contact is you were referred to me. They don't
Mm,
always say, or they might come up with some obscure thing they could have found online. But that one line, you instantly think, oh, somebody that I do business with referred this person. So that's the first sort of level of trust that you get, but it's used. I mean, these criminals, for the most part, I mean, yeah, they're probably the ones that are um, insane, but criminals, for the most part, things are well thought out and they lay the foundation. And the first thing is you were referred to me by a friend or by somebody that you just worked with, or, they come up with something. And it's very easy to get that information. And if they give you a name that you recognize, you're
mhm.
off to the races. You
I
might think
know.
you're good to go. So I just want to bring up that point that even if it seems like a referral, call whoever the person is or just ask them. I'll do that all the time. Oh, do you mind my asking who referred you to us? And, again, sometimes they just go away based on that.
Yeah, 100%. Mhm.
Well, this conversation just needs to keep going and going and going. But what I want to put out to all of my real estate agent friends is to watch for Autumn, because I know that she'd be
Mm.
happy to team up with all of the agency owners, all the brokerages out there, but she's been teaming up with Trilogy and Baldacci, and I plan to bring her back to the Bangor area. I know we're doing an event in Portsmouth this month. Yeah, the 19th. The
Mhm.
19th.
Mhm.
You've done classes down in the southern Maine area. So, either reach out to your local marketing person with Trilogy and Baldacci, and we can work with Autumn to put something together, or reach out directly. So can you let everyone else know how to find you?
Yeah. Um, so the company's called She's an Asset. You can find us at she'sanasset.com. You can find me on She's an Asset on Facebook, as well as on Instagram and TikTok. You can also email me, autumn@autumnclifford.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can friend request me, at Autumn Clifford Schmidt. Basically, I'm pretty accessible. I'm everywhere. Been online for a minute. And I super appreciate this opportunity, Bobby. And I just think this like we can just never be too careful. And for anybody who's listening who's like, geez, this was a little over the top. She's nuts. Yeah, I am. And you would be too if you were a police wife like me, who has seen some things and who's also former full-time, still part-time law enforcement officer in the state of Maine. I've seen some things, and prior to all of that, I wouldn't really be listening to me. But now that I've seen some things, I've had an opportunity to travel the state. We've been up to the Canadian border. We've been down to Massachusetts as well, teaching women situational awareness. And I'm telling you, Bobby, the stories of what these women have gone through, even recently, it is out there, it is happening. And I just want you all safe. I want you empowered. And I want you to know, again, your biggest tool is your gut.
Well, this conversation needs to keep going. This isn't, the end of it with a podcast or the end of it with a training. And we've jumped on board with you to really make this a priority in the real estate industry. And I want to continue that. So again, I appreciate you so much, Autumn. And I know you care. It's not just out there talking to hear yourself talk. I mean, I know you personally, and I know how much you genuinely care about women. So we all appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you. I want to end this episode with a few different calls to action. The first one is to listen to this episode, think about everything that was discussed, and implement some of these changes. Do what you need to do to keep yourself safe, to keep your coworkers, your employees safe. It is of the utmost importance. And I think if you really consider the things that Autumn and I talked about in this episode, a few small changes can really make a huge difference in your safety. The next call to action is I want you to check Autumn out. Her company's name is She's an Asset. And this lady is truly amazing. And she cares so much about women. She cares so much about women's safety. This is for real. She is the real deal. And also watch for her coming to your area to speak. I know that through my company, Trilogy and Balachi, we've had her speak in Bangor, in southern Maine, down in Wyndham. She's doing an event with us in Portsmouth next week. And we continue to plan to continue to bring her to different areas. So take the time. If you see that it's happening and maybe one of your local Trilogy marketers haven't reach out to us. I mean, everybody's welcome. Everyone needs to be included on this very important topic of safety. So thank you again for listening. I want you to always take care of yourself, take care of each other. I love you all. And until next time, keep it real. This has been the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast with Bobby Grenier. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion and will share this episode with a friend. And don't forget to leave a review and follow the podcast so you don't miss new episodes. The content of this podcast is for informational purposes and not intended as legal advice or representation by myself or any of the guests on the podcast. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep it real.